IPMNation.com.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome to All Natural Being. It's Brian, fired up to be hanging out with you for the hour, or whatever portion of that hour that you have to spend. Fired up to be with you here, as you know, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 5 and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Also over on iTunes, we can hang out even in the library. There's a library of all the different shows that we've done, and there's a way to catch up there as well. I also want to let you know throughout today's show, which is live, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. You can hit me up. We can connect that way. Also, allnaturalbeing.com, allnaturalbeing.com. You can just stop on by over there, send me an email. I'll send you one back. We'll hook up that way and keep connected. So, let me see. Oh, lots and lots and lots to talk about today on All Natural Being. Again, a show, just as a quick recap, a thumbnail, a summary, an elevator pitch. It's a show about you. It's a show about the all-natural you, the authentic you, the true you, as you hear me say every day, not the watered-down version that some of us become, but the real, the true you. And that's why it truly is an honor to hang out with the kindred, the people that are interested in channeling their all-natural being, and we have a ton to get to today. But before we jump into that, I wanted to make mention of something that was put up yesterday over on Facebook, which I thought was actually pretty cool. So let me do this, carry this over here, this goes there. You know, when we were talking about yesterday about being delusional, and we said that when the realists are wrong, and if nothing else, that's what science does all the time now, is prove to us that the realists are wrong. If you study anything at all in terms of science, a lot of the things that we were absolutely convinced were true in life, every year, a lot of that stuff gets overthrown, and we're forced to deal with the fact that the delusional ones, Einstein was delusional. I mean, you just go to the list of the greatest minds in humanity, they were all claimed to be delusional, all came to overthrow the mindsets of the people that preceded them. Science and religion, same thing. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Buddha, radical nonconformist. Einstein, radical nonconformist. Think about it. Jesus, radical nonconformist. People go, oh, you can't talk about them like that. Sure I can, because they were. That's the truth. You don't like it? You're welcome to click off. Tune out. Do whatever you do. Go take on there's got to be a daily morning show somewhere that kicks off around now over on TV, for those people that still watch it. You can hang out over there. But in any event, I wanted to go back to a couple different quotes. One was my friend Warren over on Facebook put up, here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes. The ones who see things differently. And they're not very fond of rules. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the ones who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. That by the late Steve Jobs. So Warren, thank you very much for throwing that up. Also, Oliver threw up a post in response to it. All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their minds. I love that. The dusty recesses of their minds. Wake in the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are the dangerous men and women, for they act on their dreams with open eyes to make them possible. That's a quote by Lawrence, T.E. Lawrence. Oliver submitted that. So thank you all very much. That's what we're talking about. So when we talk about the ones that are crazy enough to think they can change the world, I'm fired up to be hanging out with you for the hour because I think you're crazy enough to be the one that changes your own world. I think you're crazy enough to be the one that goes, I'm done. No more. No more. I'm not going to listen to all my critics. I'm not going to listen to all the naysayers. I'm not going to listen to all the cognitive couch potatoes they're just comfortable. They're like, I'll ride out this gig. I'm good. Right? I'll just sit over here on the sidelines. But for you and I, those dedicated to thinking sharply, to thinking like we mean it, because we know that's the key to smiling like we mean it, to those dedicated to tapping into their all-natural being, you and I know, sooner we begin, stronger we become. And when we do it in little chunks, either 20-second victories or 20-minute victories, when we do it in little chunks, we progressively adapt, just like building any other muscle in the body. We do that, and it affords us the luxury of getting stronger every single opportunity that we have, to rebuilding that sense of grit that is the human spine, the sense of resilience that is the human spine. And, you know, we debate all the time here on the show, science or religion, saffron robes, white lab coats, beads or stethoscopes, whatever you wear around your neck. Who cares? Crucifix or stethoscopes, whatever it is. Big Bang, Big Breath, Evolution or Elohim, Garden of Eden, Savannas of Africa, pulpit, Petri dish, whatever. Underlying all of that is our common bond. Underlying all of that is our all-natural being. So the reason we get all enveloped in these debates is because we move away from home base. Home base, our all-natural being. In the great big game of tag, somebody tags us, we're it because we moved away from home base. But underlying all of the division, there's a connection. And that connection leads us to our anaerobic aphorism for today. What is happiness? Ultimately, what is happiness? It's a mind restored to mint condition. Mint condition. No bubble wrap. No bat crap craziness. No blind spots. No apathy, atrophy, and amnesia. A full, vibrant mind. A mind in mint condition. That's what all-natural being is all about. That's why we get together every day, at least Monday through Friday. We get together however we connect, wherever we connect, whatever venue you're listening to the show on. That's why I say it really is an honor to hang out with kindred, the people that get that we're all of that same field. We're all of that same force. Our all-natural being unites us all. And when we understand that all-natural being, that's our mind in mint condition. That's what allows everything else to unfold around us, is the belief in a mind in mint condition. And that's going to be our focus today. Because as you know, my motif, my bent each and every time we're together, is to blend ancient wisdom with modern science. My gig is to constantly work to realign our reality with the truth. It's the difference, between aspiration and inspiration. I'm here to simply suggest, to offer to you to try in your own way, 20-second victory, 20-minute victory. You'll reconnect with that underlying field. I'm simply here to suggest that it's not about aspiration. It's not about goals. It's not about pulling yourself outside of this moment. It's about inspiration. It's about going in and getting your very best out. Going right to the core of your heart. I love that commercial throughout the Olympics. I think it was Dick's Sporting Goods that talks about the percentage of gold within the human body, within the planet, within the universe, but that percentage of gold, and how the true athletes, and athletes could be artists, it could be anything. Those with real strength are the ones that have the determination to go in and get their gold out. I like that. I love that, as a matter of fact. But that's the difference between aspiration and inspiration. We're not aspiring. We're not being called to something. We're being inspired. We're not being pulled to something. We're being pushed by our own spine, by our own grit, by our own sense of who we are. Quick side note, great-grandchild of the divine. Where we are, the garden of the mortals, the labyrinth of life. And then the third part of our happy hat trick, what the hell we're going to do about it. So happiness ultimately becomes when we return to that portion of our mind that's in mint condition. And no matter what the trials, the tribulations, all the bat crap craziness going on in our life, all natural being just sits there. It's always there. There's nothing to find. There's nothing to achieve. There's nothing to gain. It always sits within you. And once we stop all the craziness swirling around us, that's what bubbles up. Because that's our true nature. That's our pristine. That's our primordial. That's our all-natural mind. But what happens to us? We get to a certain age, we become philosophical pack rats. I'm guilty of it. Raise your hand if you are. I'm guilty of it as well. Our minds become these mental landfills with just pile upon pile of outdated thoughts and ideas. I should remind you, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL is for texts, at least for right now. So send me a text if you got anything you want to comment on. Now would be the time to do it. Sorry, I can't take your call, but pretty soon we'll be able to do that as well. But we can absolutely take your texts. All right, so getting back to it. Philosophical pack rats. Our minds become landfills. And I'm fascinated. Like if you live at a place where people have front yards, and they're constantly focused on debris in their front yards, like crabgrass, dandelions, the neighbor's dog pooping in the yard. Ever worried about it? Oh, I have to have a totally green. It's going to be perfect green. No weeds. No nothing. Perfectly green. Why? Because they want to get back to their pristine. They want it to look perfect. Well, that's a projection of knowing that you're perfect on the inside. It's like it's like almost like a philosophical acne, right? Why does everyone want to get rid of acne? Oh, I got to get rid of it. Oh, I got to get rid of this. I got to get rid of that. Why is that? Because we want back to our pristine. We want back to our all-natural being. We want back to our primordial. But then again, we grow to become these philosophical pat rats. We become hoarders of the binge thinking that goes on in our heads. Well, my question would be today, and this is what we're going to focus on throughout. And we're going to focus on two things, technically. The field, the connection, the all-natural being, and also how we get away from that all-natural being. And my question in the second part of the show is going to be, why do we tolerate binge thinking? Everyone says, oh, we need to have a zero-tolerance policy. Great. I'm all over it. How about you and I say we're going to have a zero-tolerance policy for binge thinking? Because you and I both know if we tolerate that, it leads to subjugation. You begin to work for your mind, and your mind's like, I'm all over driving this bus. Sit back. But we know that toleration leads to subjugation, and that subjugation leads to, ultimately, imprisonment. Mental imprisonment. Where our crazy mind is what runs the show. So what do? As an attempt, it's like a pill, a Band-Aid on our brains, on our minds. We use goal setting. We go, oh, well, if my mind's going to be crazy, let's just set a goal. Let's have a bucket list. Let's have a to-do list. Let's have all these other things, all these fears about the future, all the ideas, all the opinions about our past. Let's just pile it all in. But underneath it all, if You want to demystify mindfulness? We want to get to the point that, okay, what's mindfulness? Just remembering who you ultimately are. That's it. Oh, well, they're going to do a 17-week course on mindfulness. I can do it in 17 seconds. Remember who you are. Look at your own eyes in the mirror for 20 seconds. And as other thoughts bubble up, just go back to staring at yourself in your own eyes. There you go. That was more like 7 seconds. Sorry. We demystify mindfulness when we remember who we are. That's what mindfulness is. To be mindful, not packed full, not chock full, not hoarders and pack rats and landfill operators, collectors of all kinds of crap. But our all-natural mind. When we remember who we are, when we restore our mind to its mint condition, no blind spots, no amnesia, no bat crap craziness, then we're happy. If you look at it, then happiness isn't anything to scour the planet looking for. It's something that already sits inside of you. Happiness sits in your heart. It sits in your spine. It's even the marrow of your mind. But we got this binge thinking. We buy into that binge thinking, and our mind is off to the races. So if we're really going to blend ancient wisdom with modern science, what say we start today? We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
IPMNation.com.
IPMNation.com. Independent, provocative, mobile, just like our minds should be. All right, so I mentioned this briefly the other day. I just want to go back to it. And then, right, because I have people say, oh, that's very spiritual. Your show's very spiritual. Thank you very much. Oh, and some people go, oh, I really like how you bring home the science. Okay, thank you very much. I'm good with that as well. But if we're really going to blend ancient wisdom and modern science, I think we have to do it. We have to look at some thoughts, some wisdom that humanity has had throughout the ages, and then we look at modern science, and we go, isn't that interesting? So here's the one that I want to focus on before we get into the concept of the field. I hear all the time, it's really popular now. People are writing books. People that should know better are running around going, I am is the answer to all your problems. When you can say, I am, I am, I am. It's kind of like buying apps for meditation. It's more distraction. I am. Where, truth be told, and there's nothing to sell you if you adopt this philosophy, which is why you don't hear it all that often, but you're always going to hear it on All Natural Being. Instead of I am, the phrase is, and should be, this is. Because I am just speaks more to this concept of I am this, I am that, I am all those things. Where the opposite side of that coin, this is, yields a sense of gratitude, a sense of compassion, and therefore a sense of forgiveness. Because if you really want to distill down, but people say all the time, well, once you tap into all natural being, what does it get you? And then you kind of chuckle usually, and you smile and again say, well, let me say, if you're into it for what you can get, let's just finish this out. What you get is more gratitude. What you get is more compassion. What you get is more forgiveness. Because ultimately, you realize at your core, you're unprickable. Nobody can screw with you. At your core, at the home of your all-natural being, you're untouchable. You're not a pincushion. When we live within the marrow of our minds, and we know it's not about I am, but this is, I am, I am, I am. And this from people that should know better. They do know better. People say, well, why do you go off on the self-help industry? Why do you call it self-help industry tactics and always talking about the snake oil? Well, let's see. Wait for it, because it is. I am is just another part of the trap. This is. That's the key to restoring a mind to its mint condition. Because ultimately, reality, what you perceive in this moment, this is. But then growing up, We never learned. We've talked before about ego being estrangement gone overboard. We get farther and farther away from the field, from the wave, from our common connectedness, from the dirt in our DNA. You know, I watch the boys. Jenga, I think it is, these little wooden blocks. They look like, they're about the size of a package of gum. If anyone still buys gum like that. There's a package of gum. And you stack these things. Well, you stack them, and I think there were maybe 20 rows of 3. So let's say there's 60 blocks. Might be a little more. 20 more. So you can stack them in 3s and they go all the way up. But if you stack them in 2s and you start getting them farther and farther away from the ground, from the floor, from the carpet, wherever they're building them, they start to teeter over and fall. Well, that's the crash of the ego. When it gets farther and farther away from the field, it can't sustain itself. And then as we grow, and we don't jettison, we need that sense of estrangement just so we can get through the day when we're younger. But when we don't jettison, we're just like watching the space shuttle. Why do they jettison the solid rocket booster fuels? Well, because they wouldn't get into space if they were dragging those things along with it. So, for those that don't jettison this concept, and then it grows and metastasizes either into an inflated ego or a deflated ego, either super important, I'm super important, I am super important, or I am super impotent. Important or impotent, your ego, you make the call. When we don't jettison it, use it, as the timeshare that it was, as the temporary, kind of like the packaging. You get, let's say you order something in the mail, it comes in its packaging, and you go to take it out. You don't leave it in its packaging forever, do you? You couldn't use it. Suppose you order, I don't know. Oh, wait, forget it. Head over to the grocery store. You buy some, it's still in its packaging. You're going to eat the bread through the plastic wrap, or do you have to remove the plastic wrap to get to the bread? Same thing. You got these people running around that going, oh no, I am. And then it deteriorates into I am inflated or I am deflated. I am important or I am impotent. All aspects of the ego, estrangement gone overboard. But then when you find the balance, that the ego is really just a slight vibration in the field itself, let's just say. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Oh, this one's too hot, this one's too cold, this porridge is just right. This chair is too hard, to this, to that. This bed, too soft, too hard. Oh, this bed's just right. When we find that balance between an overly inflated or an overly deflated sense of ego, it's like an iceberg poking up to the surface of the water. That little tip is your all-natural being. You've probably heard me say before, I love the Arthurian myth of the Holy Grail was forged by the angels that took the middle path. The middle path. Not too cold, not too hot, just right. But the angels who sided neither with God nor with Satan, they took the middle path. They're the ones that forged the Holy Grail. So what's our middle path? Our middle path, not an overly inflated sense of ego, not an overly deflated sense of ego. What is our path? This is. That's the middle path. We'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
So that's the question. And the them, how much longer will we let them? We talk about this at the bottom of our hour, every hour. Here on All Natural Being, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. SOUL. Send me a text if you like. We'll incorporate it into the show. We're talking about happiness. What is it? Demystified. Happiness is a mind restored to mint condition. That's all it is. Which is why I'm always confused by this concept of the difference between motivation. The greatest motivational speaker in the world. And what happens is whenever you find someone telling you they're the greatest motivational speaker in the world, the very next thing they'll try to sell you is the ability to influence other people. Oh, as a motivational expert, I'm able to influence people. So I'll just get up on stage, jump around, pound my chest, scream into a microphone. La 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 la. And then on the other side, there's inspiration. Motivation is something done to you. Inspiration comes from within you. And when you're inspired by your mind in a mint condition, the last thing you need is a motivational speaker. Jumping around on stage, clapping our hands, all the bells and whistles and buzzers and flashing lights of a Vegas slot machine. People go, I don't know. I felt great for like an hour, and then I couldn't find it working anymore. Well, that's what motivation gets you. There's your bottle of snake oil. Which only gets me in trouble with all these people that have motivational websites and motivational this and motivational that. I'm simply suggesting that motivation is a pill, something you take from the outside. Inspiration is who you already are. It's your mind restored to its mint condition. No mashugana, no bat crap craziness. And that's why happiness, that's the home of happiness. Can't be given to you. It can only be remembered, recognized. So when we talk about reconnecting, revitalizing the relationship with, and then restoring it into your everyday life, we talk about that reconnecting with your all-natural being. It isn't going anywhere. Your soul is on the sidelines. It hasn't left for the parking lot. It's not on the bus driving back. It's sitting on the sidelines going, he'll call me. She'll call me. I'll get the signal. Walk into the mound, tap the left, bring in the lefty. Or the righty. I'll finally get a call at some stage, and all I'm suggesting is tick, 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 ding. You and I never know when our ding's going to come. Clock's ticking. So instead of running around looking for motivation, I got an email this morning. I should probably I don't want to read the name of the person because I don't want to throw her under the bus, but let me just see. What was it? It was something that came in and talked about how it is in tough times where we can motivate ourselves, I think it was. The 7 keys, the 10 steps, the 37 secrets. Let me see. This there. Oh, the secret to staying motivated. The secret to staying motivated. Well, I would say to you, don't get motivated, and then you don't need a secret for how to stay there. When you're inspired by who you truly are, when you're inspired with that sense of gratitude for being dropped into the garden of the mortals in the first place, what's staying? Staying? The secret of staying motivated. Why do we need staying power? When you're inspired by who you are, the last thing you need is some secret telling you how to stay motivated. Look, if you're on a path, if you've chosen to do something and you need continual remotivation, you're on the wrong path. If you need someone jumping around on stage, screaming and hollering and throwing their fists in the air, you're on the wrong path, brother. You're on the wrong path. I was told the other day I'm not allowed to say brother or sister, apparently. I guess there's some faux pas. So let me just say to all those people worried, apparently, that I'm not supposed to say brother or sister. I had a critique. Someone said, love you guys is probably not the best way to end it. Well, let me just say, brother and sister, you're on the wrong path. Love you guys, but you're on the wrong path. All right? That should quiet the critics for a little while. I'm not allowed to say brother or sister. We only need motivation when we got a vacuum inside. How do you turn off the vacuum? Mindfulness. What's mindfulness? Oh, wait for it. Remembering who you are. Because when you remember who you ultimately are, nothing can touch you. Oh, I'm so burnt out. Well, you don't remember who you are. Oh, I'm so depressed. Again, don't remember who you are. Oh, I'm so unhappy. Again, don't remember who you are. You got amnesia. Nothing else. There's nothing else to look for. Nothing else to pray for. Nothing else to grovel around for. You got yourself some amnesia. You got a few blind spots. And for me, what's been the greatest solvent for me when it comes to my own blind spots? Best acronym. Breathe in, exhale, scan your surroundings, and then take action. What's been the greatest solvent for my blind spots. 20-minute victories. Chipping away at it. A little tap at a time. You've probably heard me say before, that's what I love about, I'm looking at the book right now in my library, Michelangelo's poetry. With chisel in hand, all is well. Yeah, every little tap, 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 tap. Believed that the statue was already in the stone. He was tasked with removing the excess marble so that the statue could come to life. Same with you and me. Same with you and me. Secret for staying motivated. How about, I've got a secret for you. Never take up motivation in the first place. Be inspired with who you already are. And then you're not going to worry. Now, does that mean you're 100 miles an hour every day? No. It just means that at your core, at that connection, you're unstoppable. You're unprickable. Nothing gets through. Unless, of course, of those things that you want to get through. You're the one responsible. You signed for the package. I was reading an article the other day where someone said, "Oh, I'm so upset." And the interviewer went on the article and said, well, I was reading this thing, and I took great offense. And I sit there sometimes, and I just count to myself. 1, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. 4, 1,000. 5. And you get to like 5, 1,000, you go, they're not going to get it, are they? It's not coming. And you'd love to be in one of these interviews where you go, oh, okay, so you took offense. Yes. Well, what are you going to do about that? Well, I'm going to get back at them. Oh, so let me see. You're going to get back because you took what they offered. Instead of just going, oh, no, thanks. Like, does every time you're in a restaurant and the waiter walks up and goes, just save any room for dessert? Waitress goes, oh, I'll bet you want some pie to top off that meal. Did you ever find yourself saying, nah, I'm good, thanks? Did you save any room? Nope. So we're capable of doing it. So why would we take offense? If someone wants to be offensive, why would we take it in? Only because we can bitch about the fact that we're the one that signed for the package? Don't take it in. Because then when you and I are responsible, we're responsible. And I kept waiting for the person to go, I took offense. It's not coming for him. But it can come for you and I when we realize that, I say all the time, we're not this pincushion. We got to let the pin in. We're the co-conspirator. We signed for the package. We're the ones that took offense, like taking a cookie, taking a sip of water. Well, don't ingest it. And can I give you a little bit of my my mean side, my evil side? If you don't take it, they're stuck with it. Let them carry it back to the street, load it back on the truck. Someone brings you a bag of bowling balls. You don't sign for it. They're going to take the bag of bowling balls with them. Let them be the bellman for all their baggage. Not you and me. Let's not tolerate binge thinking. Ours or someone else's. Ours or someone else's. You ever talk to someone, hey, how you doing? And then you realize that the waterfall is about to gush. Because you were expecting, oh, good, how are you? But oh, no. How are you? And then 20 minutes later, you're like, your head just is like a speed bag. You have to decide in the moment. Even when it comes to compassion. Where compassion for them has to end so that you can have compassion for yourself. It's a sliding scale of compassion. You want to be compassionate outwardly. Understand that. Absolutely dig it. God love you. But when does the compassion for yourself begin? Don't accept the package. Don't take it if it's being offered to you and it's going to be injurious. I took offense. Well, then why are we blaming anyone else but ourselves? We took offense. We'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because it's never too late to take your life back.
Never too late to take your life back. So let's talk about that life. We said all the time that All Natural Being is about blending ancient wisdom with modern science. So all you have to do in studying ancient wisdom, you don't have to look very far, or even, what do they call it today? Modern day spiritual stuff. I forget, name even escapes me. I don't know. Let's call it higher consciousness, right? Even though you and I know I don't agree with the term. Whatever it's called. It's spiritualism of today. Or ancient wisdom or spiritualism. And they're talking about the field, the wave, the garden of one, that we're all connected. And then you have countless studies. Shocker, you and I are going to go over them here for just a minute. I picked two that I thought were pretty cool. But countless studies that talk about compassion, that talking about loving the neighbor as yourself, that talk about forgiveness, gratitude, and why that's so important for overall happiness. Where altruism is really the key to happiness. So I wanted to take you back to an article, and I really like this author. I would buy more of his books, but he's a physicist, and when at the universities they think that these books should sell for $185 or whatever it is. So now that I said that, I probably shouldn't mention his name. But in any event, the title of the article over on Nova is The Nature of Reality. And if you want his book, text me. I'll give you his name, and you can send him... Which always fascinates me. You find the paperback, how much? 1 cent. Oh, you want it on Kindle? $185.97, please. I'm like, you're not even printing paper. You get the paperback for 1 penny. You can get a used hardcover book for $6. How much for the Kindle? Oh, $278. Well, Brian, it is a university publication. Oh, great. In any event, it calls The Good Vibrations of the Quantum Field Theories. Long article, love every bit of it. Just want to give you one quick portion of it. It's talking about particles, photons, electrons, gluons, muons. There's all kinds of names. Quote, spanning all of space are a great variety of different fields that exist everywhere. Just like how a certain spot can simultaneously have a smell, a sound, a color. What we think of as a particle is simply a vibration of its associated field. Right? Whatever you got, what we think is a particle, we always talk about the collapse of the wave function. We always have these fields. Well, if there are fields all the way down to the level of the smallest things ever recorded, then you and I have to admit it's not religion, although I love religion, to bind together is the ancient term. Bound together, you're already bound together. Bound together what? In the all natural being, in that field. But even at this level, no Pollyanna BS, no spiritual nonsense, none of all of that. We're talking just strict science now. There's a field. And they're talking about the discovery of the Higgs boson, Higgs field, quote, we caused the Higgs field to vibrate and observed the vibration. That's this elusive God particle. That's the boson. It's a vibration in a field. So if it works all the way down at that level, how is it that you and I aren't connected in a field? Even if all the crap that goes to make us up has their own fields. But ultimately, unless you watch the news, unless you go on the internet, ultimately we're the pinnacle of evolution, or the pinnacle of what God could create, whatever you like. Pulpit or the petri dish, stethoscope or crucifix. You make the call. Not important to me, should be terribly important to you. How is it then we're the pinnacle, yet we're not vibrating in the same type of field? When I say all the time that we are a collapse of the wave function, not I am, but this is. We're a simple vibration in the field that is humanity. You could say that is mammalian life. That is all life. That is everything. How is it that all these other things are in fields, but the pinnacle, we're not in a field. We're isolated, which is what just, whatever I see, we're going to give come and learn complete stillness. Why would I want to learn complete stillness? It doesn't exist in the universe. Oh, we have a meditation class. Come and learn complete stillness. No thanks. I'd rather hone my skills at bank robbery. Why would we want to learn complete stillness? It doesn't exist anywhere in the universe. Oh, no, come. Torque your back. Trash your knees. Sit on this pillow. Hold your fingers this way. We're going to teach you complete stillness. Oh, so you're going to teach me something that doesn't exist. Everything is a vibration. Everything is a perturbation of that particular field, of all fields. So we say, you have to still your mind. Oh, please, would you do me a favor? Next time someone says, would you like me to teach you how to still your mind? I say, no thanks, but I'd be really interested in if you could teach me competitive eating, like so I could suck down 400 hot dogs and win a gold medal at Ethan's on the boardwalk in Jersey. They're going to teach us stillness. Okay, I'd rather take. I'll take fairy tales for 500, please. Alex, I was going to say Pat. Can't keep them all straight. But as we study more and more about happiness, and we hear terms like altruism, we hear terms like forgiveness and compassion, all these terms. It's because ultimately we're all a part of the same field. And this isn't some foo-foo-y, kumbaya, I'm just talking about the science of it now. So maybe this loving thy neighbor as thyself is the same thing as loving thyself because it is your neighbor. The field exists. You're a collapse of the wave function. You're the vibration of that field, which is life itself. People say, no, Bri, as above, so below. Oh, but not in physics. What happens at the quantum world has no application to us in the physical world. And you have all these scientists running around saying, you can't compare the two. No, your vapid, diminutive brain can't compare the two. Your pigeonholed viewpoints can't compare the two. But just because you haven't figured it out doesn't mean it doesn't exist, Mr. Labcoat. I'm simply suggesting that when you look at all the studies at what triggers now human happiness, dozens of books, I've read them all, at least a couple dozen of late. Why is it then that when they talk about what's the key to happiness, compassion, why? Empathy, why? Forgiveness, why? Altruism, why? Why would that make a standalone entity happy? Doing something for the survival of the fittest, baby. Then why is it, with all these advanced tests, all these studies, that it's survival of the coolest, not survival of the cruelest, the coolest among us, the most compassionate, the most forgiving among us. Survival of the coolest. So when we look at reports, let's pull one up. Here's one, Psychology Today. Dun, dun, dun. Loving thy neighbor as thyself makes us healthy and happy. Talks about connectedness. Well, here's been my thing all along. Connectedness. Duh. Do you talk about the connectedness of water droplets in the ocean? It's ridiculous. No. So, you think there's a couple of droplets in the ocean going, I can't wait for this weekend. What do you got going on? I'm going to take a class in stillness. You're the ocean. Nothing about us is still. How connectedness, generosity, and gratitude are central to our individual well-being. I love this all the time. I talk about human connection is the key, right? We have to have. So look at it outwardly, right? More motivation. Motivation. Oh, here's a shot glass full of snake oil. Have a couple. Take two. They're small. But if you want, I can upgrade you to a pint glass of it here just a little bit. I always talk about, we have to have this sense of connection. No, we don't have to have it. Things work at that level because inwardly inspired by the truth, that connection already exists. We have all kinds of studies that say human connectedness it's very important. Well, it ought to be because it's reality. It ought to be because it's the truth. It ought to be. But we act as if searching outside for what we already have is going to be the key to anything. It's going to be the key to distraction. It's going to be the key to unhappiness, to unfulfillment. It's going to be the key to pain in our lives. I was reading an article this morning that said your connectedness to close friends and families is the single greatest thing outside of, some of the things that we ingest, that we take in, if we smoke or drink or eat or the like. But the single greatest factor is how connected you are to family and your close friends. Why is that? Because you are. We are. That's the universal truth.
Oh, but there's a wide range of recent studies, Brian, that have found that pro-social behaviors foster well-being of all the parties involved. Bullshit stuff. BS. All these studies are showing is that what we already are connected, and we get our well-being when in the great big game of tag that is called life, we get back to home base. Oh, I'm touching the tree. Can't tag me. Sorry. Keep running.
When we talk about love thy neighbor as thyself, we talk about the division between out-groups and in-groups. There are no out-groups. There are no in-groups. Apparently I'm not allowed to say brother, or I'm not allowed to say sister. I'm not allowed to say those things because I'm told. I'm just not. But technically, when you look at the science of it, or you look at the religion of it, whatever you want, whatever you like, wherever you're up to in that whole quest in life, we were all born of the same family, separated at birth. Separated at birth, that's all it is. So maybe there's really something to this golden rule. Maybe because the same goal that was in the Dick's Sporting Goods commercial, the same gold that's in my heart is in your heart. Same gold that we mine out of the planet. We do all these things. It's gold. Natural resources, all connected. Oh, but we have to have empathy. We are empathy. We don't have to have it. We are it. It's like saying, oh, I'd like to go and get some skin. Oh, groovy. We already have it. We don't need empathy. But as our ego grows more and more overboard, our estrangement grows more and more overboard, gone overboard, then we don't see that all-natural being. We don't see that underlying connectedness, and that's what makes us unhappy. So instead of constantly looking outside of ourselves, we wonder, oh man, why are we weak? Because we've forgotten who we are. It's not about destinations. It's about digging within you. Article goes on to say researchers in New Zealand published a 32-year longitudinal study of child and adolescent pathways to well-being in adulthood. Quote, for this study, researchers analyzed health and happiness data for 800 people over 32 years. Research team found that positive social relationships in childhood and adolescence are the key to adult well-being. Why? Well, because they realized that connectedness was who they were. That was their primordial. That was their pristine. And that these social attachments, which exist undercover anyways, but these social attachments to parents and peers and teachers and confidants, and I would say even some of our challengers, make us who we are. Why? Because that's what we are. Another well-being study
collective theory of happiness, words related to the word happiness. So they did this whole study. What did they find? You read through those articles, those magazines that have those words. When people are reminded of that sense of happiness, of connection, that sense of gratitude, everyone's happier. Why? Not because they've achieved something, but they've gotten rid of the bubble wrap. They've gotten rid of this false sense of being separated, your mind separated from the labyrinth that it's in, just that everyone else's labyrinth is overlapping as well. So let's say you don't dig any aspect of this altruism. You don't want to be compassionate. You want to continue to do all these other things. You're in it for yourself. God love you. Then do this for yourself. Recognize the underlying connection of all beings. Do it for 20 seconds. Do it for 20 minutes. And then when you begin to feel that sense bubble up inside of you, you decide. Don't listen to me. Not about me. What does my opinion matter? Zippo in your life. I'm simply suggesting as your tag team partner, maybe you try this. 20 seconds, 20 minutes. Another article, Psychology Today, the neuroscience of going from Machiavellian to magnanimous. Again, let's not beat this around. But they're talking about this concept of every man, every woman, dog-eat-dog society, everyone for themselves. Isn't working. Isn't working. It's when we're kind, when we're pro-social. It says here, quote, pro-social behaviors are social behaviors that benefit other people. They are a fundamental aspect of human interactions, essential for social bonding and cohesion. But very little is currently known about how and why people do things to help others. News bulletin, call me. We have the answer here at All Natural Being. Because they're not fundamental aspects outside of ourselves. They're not essential for social bonding. They already exist. It's not an aspect. It is. And that's why so little is known, because everyone's looking in the wrong place. They say, although people have a remarkable inclination to engage in pro-social behaviors, they can't figure out because there's a substantial difference between individuals. Some people tap into their all-natural being. They're happy, they're resilient, they're fulfilled. Other people don't. They're cognitive couch potatoes, in it for themselves. Article goes on to say, until recently, the exact neural mechanisms that underpin pro-social and empathetic behaviors have been poorly understood. But in this groundbreaking research, using all kinds of different machines, quote, the researchers used a common model for deconstructing how people learn to maximize better outcomes for themselves. Then they applied this model to deconstruct how people learn to not only look out for themselves, but rather to help others. Based on the findings, guess what? Quote, however, this region of the brain was not exactly equally active in each person. Perish the thought. All natural being. When you reconnect to who you ultimately are, that is the truth. No stillness, constant vibration in the labyrinth, constant movement within the garden of the mortals. When we do that, that's what makes us happy. That's what makes us filled with a sense of forgiveness, with a sense of compassion, with a sense of gratitude. We're thankful to have been dropped here in the first place. So all the stories, and I have to tell you, I'm feeling a little bit bad for Ryan Lochte. Had too much to drink, Made up a story. Have to tell you, I said to a group of people I was with, the moment he acted like what a gun was like pointed to his forehead when he was doing his interview on the beach, the moment you see that, you could tell he was never in fear of his life. Why? Because it was a fabricated story. But are we just going to tar and feather this poor guy? I mean, this is a guy that had to dye his hair a different color just to get to the Olympics. I'm beginning to think maybe he needed a little more attention. So we're supposed to throw him under the bus? I mean, good golly, listen to some of the things that are being said about this poor guy. Well, he lied. So does that's the litmus test we're going to use, are we? We're going to Brian Williams him? That's what we're going to do? All right. I would simply suggest that when we look at empathy, when we look at compassion, when we look at forgiveness, when we look at gratitude, it's because that's what we ultimately are, and that's what peels away the anxiety. That's what lowers our heart rate. That's what makes us happier, fulfilled, and successful. Because it's who we already are. It's not an aspect to look for. It's the way we already are. So let me ask you, in your life, give me an example of some time, just doing something nice for another person, you felt good yourself. Well, if we are all that disconnected, why? You hold the door for someone, did they tip you $5 and you felt good because you got the $5? God love you. I never get $5. I got to start finding where you're hanging out and start holding some of those doors open for people. I would offer that we don't connect to other people. We don't display pro-social behavior. We are connected. We are pro-social because that's who we are. Not I am, but this is. Try it for 20 seconds. Try it for 20 minutes. I guarantee, I promise you, you'll be in a better mood. When we want to reconnect to that pristine, that primordial, that all-natural being, that all-natural mind, the sooner we begin, the stronger we become. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Don't forget, allnaturalbeing.com. Send me an email. I'll send you one back. Also want to take the opportunity to thank everyone that's posted the different comments up on Facebook, over on Twitter. Also, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. Send me whatever you're thinking, good or bad. It's all good to me. And even though the show may not be live, I still take the texts and incorporate them into what we'll be speaking about the very next time we get together. That's my promise to you. Yesterday we talked about 10 things that you could be thankful for. And as a mind experiment, as a thought experiment, go all Einstein on yourself at some point today and go, how cool would it be if you're simply a protrusion, you're simply a vibration of a field that connects you with all energy, all knowledge, that connects you with everything? What if I'm right? What if you are the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchild of the divine? What if you are a part of the garden of the mortals, the labyrinth of life? What would you do? What could you pull off if you went back inside and brought out and grabbed and brought out into the light of day the very best parts of you? The labyrinth isn't some philosophical construction. It is the actual field of which you and I are vibrations in that field. How freaking cool is that? All right, we're going to get out of here. Love you guys. I look forward to hanging out with you tomorrow. Till that time, have an absolutely fantastic day. Enjoy being a part of the field. Ride the wave. Ride the breakers. You and me, the breakers and the wave. Have an absolute riot.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
IPMNation.com.